Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine, if you will, a place where human diversity is just as striking, maybe even more so, than the landscape itself.
A place of incredible contrasts.
Exactly. Think vast deserts meeting the ocean, ancient rock art, and people whose appearance tells a story stretching back millennia. We're talking about Namibia.
It really is captivating.
Our mission today is to dive into what makes Namibians look so distinct. We'll be unpacking the physical features, the stories, using the research and notes you've provided.
It's a fascinating topic. Researchers often point to Namibia because, well, despite a relatively small population, around 2.6 million people.
Tiny, really, for a country that size.
Right, but it holds some of the most visually distinct groups in all of Africa. It's a reflection of incredibly deep history, environmental adaptation, unique cultures.
A kind of living time capsule.
In many ways, yes. Millennia of human history condensed into one nation.
Okay, let's start somewhere concrete.
Yeah.
Imagine you're walking down Independence Avenue in Windhoek, the capital. What hits you first?
Oh, immediately. It's the sheer variety. It's not subtle.
Like what? Paint us a picture.
Well, you might see, say, Oshiwambo families walking by deep brown skin, perhaps intricate braids. Very striking.
Okay.
Then maybe a Himba woman passes. You can't miss her body covered in that rich red ochre paste.
Our cheese, right?
White cheese, exactly. And her hair in these thick, heavy plaits. It's incredibly distinct.
Wow.
And nearby, perhaps you see a San elder. Their features are different. Again, lighter, sort of bronze skin, very fine, sharp features.
So 3 very different looks right there on one street.
Easily. And then if you travel, say, north, you'll encounter Herero women.
Ah, yes. In those amazing Victorian-style dresses.
The very ones.
Huh?
Tall, commanding presence. Unforgettable.
So these aren't just like occasional sights.
Not at all. These are snapshots, but they represent distinct population groups. And as the sources stress, this isn't just anecdotal. Namibia's small population genuinely showcases some of the most pronounced phenotypic variation.
Meaning the physical traits you can actually see.
Exactly. Traits shaped by genes, by environment, by history. The amount of variation within one country is just remarkable.
Okay, let's break that down. What specific things make up this visual tapestry? Maybe start with eye color. Seems basic, but...
It's a good starting point, and mostly it is straightforward. Over 96% of Namibians have dark brown eyes, which is typical for sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay, standard enough.
But you do see occasional lighter shades, hazel, sometimes amber, particularly noted among sand communities and also colored populations.
Really? Why is that?
It seems to be a mix of, well, natural genetic variation that's just persisted, and in some cases, certainly historical admixture, particularly in the colored communities.
And then there's albinism.
Yeah.
That Horace has mentioned that's quite noticeable in Namibia.
It is. The rate is significantly higher than the global average, maybe around 1 in 3,000 births.
Wow.
And with albinism, you often get those very striking eye colors, blue, gray, sometimes green.
Visually distinct for sure.
Definitely. But it's important to remember it also brings challenges, serious health issues with sun exposure, of course, and unfortunately, sometimes social stigma, too.
Right. A complex reality behind the visual difference.
Yeah.
Okay, moving to skin tone. This seems to be where the variation really explodes.
It truly does. The range is incredible. Take the San, for instance. Their skin tone is often light brown, sometimes almost bronze. It's noticeably lighter than many other groups in the region.
And there's a reason for that.
Anthropologists link it to their ancient genetics, unique pigmentation patterns that likely helped with vitamin D synthesis in their ancestral desert environments, while still offering some sun protection.
Fascinating. And the Himba. We mentioned the ochre.
Yes, their natural skin tone is medium to dark brown, but the Otchais, that mix of red ochre and butterfat, gives them that iconic deep red glow.
And it's not just cosmetic, you said.
Not at all. It's crucial sun protection in that incredibly harsh, dry environment. Plus, it has deep cultural and aesthetic meaning.
Functional and beautiful. Smart.
Very. Then you have groups like the Herero and the Ovambo. Their skin tones are typically a deep brown, more aligned with what you see in Central and Southern African populations generally.
Right.
And finally, the Nama and the colored populations. Here you see a real spectrum from medium brown right through to lighter tones. It's a direct reflection of that history of mixing between African and European peoples during colonial times.
So it really maps onto history.
Absolutely. A 2018 dermatological survey actually confirmed this. Namibia has one of the widest ranges of melanin levels found in southern Africa. It's a direct result of both environment and this very diverse ancestry.
Let's talk about hair, another Major visual marker, I imagine.
Definitely. And again, very distinct characteristics. The San, for example, often have what's described as peppercorn hair, very tightly coiled, growing in small, separate clumps.
Right, I've seen pictures. It looks quite unique.
It is. Then, the Himba and Ovambo typically have tightly coiled hair too, but it's often styled elaborately. Think intricate braids, extensions, sometimes incorporating that same ochre paste. It becomes almost sculptural.
An art form.
Truly. The hero also tend towards coiled or curly hair, though you sometimes see slightly looser curls in some families, perhaps hinting at minor historical admixture way back.
And the color communities.
As you'd expect, a huge range. Everything from straight and weighty textures to tightly coiled, reflecting that mixed African-European heritage.
And color-wise, mostly black.
Overwhelmingly black, yes. But that Himba Otjais often gives their styled hair a reddish tint, which is very distinctive.
Adds to the whole look.
Exactly. And one interesting detail. Among the San, you find natural lighter brown hair shades in maybe 5 to 7% of individuals. That's actually quite a bit higher than in most other African groups.
Small details, but they add up to this incredible variety. Okay, what about physical build? Height.
Sure.
The sources suggest big differences here, too.
Huge differences. It's something anthropologists really highlight about Namibia. You have the San or Khoisan peoples, who are among the shortest groups in Africa.
How short, typically?
On average, men are around, say, 158 to 162 centimeters. That's roughly 5'2" to 5'3". Women average about 150 centimeters, so just under 5 feet.
And that's an adaptation.
Yes, their compact build is seen as incredibly efficient for survival in arid environments. Less body mass requires less food and water.
Makes sense. And at the other end?
You have groups like the Herero and Ovambo. They tend to be significantly taller. Men average maybe 173 to 176 centimeters, 5'8" to 5'9". Women around 162 to 164 centimeters, so 5'4" to 5'5".
That's a big difference within one country.
It really is. The Himba are generally similar in height to the Herero, often with lean, muscular builds suited to their pastoral lifestyle.
Okay.
And the Nama and colored groups, they tend to fall somewhere in the middle, stature-wise, average heights between the San and the taller Bantu-speaking groups.
So Namibia is one of those rare places where you find some of the shortest and some of the taller African populations living side by side.
Precisely. It's a living microcosm of human physical diversity in that respect.
Let's talk facial features. Just as varied, I assume.
Absolutely, and this connects back to some really deep history. The San, for instance, often have narrower faces, high cheekbones, and, this is interesting, epicanthic folds near the eyes.
The fold on the eyelid, sometimes associated with East Asians.
Exactly. But, and this is crucial, the sources emphasize this is not from any recent connection to East Asia. These are understood to be incredibly ancient human traits that have persisted in certain populations, including the San, from possibly our earliest ancestors.
So it's a sign of deep ancestry, not recent mixing.
Precisely. It makes the San a kind of living window into humanity's deep past. It counters some common but incorrect assumptions.
That's fascinating. Okay, what about other groups?
While the Himba and Ovambo typically show features associated with Bantu ancestry, broader noses, often fuller lips, maybe rounder facial structures overall.
Yeah, right.
The Herero, on the other hand, sometimes present with stronger jawlines, longer faces, higher foreheads. Some observers even compare their features to Nilotic groups found much further north, like in East Africa. It hints at complex migration histories.
Wow. Different threads woven together.
Exactly. And then, as we've said, the Nama and colored groups often display blended features, a real mosaic reflecting both their African and European heritage.
So pulling it all together, the why behind all this visible difference isn't random. It's history, it's environment, it's culture, all playing out over millennia.
That's the core of it. You have the San representing some of the world's oldest continuous populations. Genetics suggest their lineages go back over 150,000 years. Their features are literally ancient.
Mind-blowing.
Then, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 years ago, you have the Bantu migrations sweeping south and west. This brings groups like the Ovambo, Herero, Himba into the region. They bring different physical traits, different languages, different ways of life, fundamentally reshaping the landscape.
And adapting, too, like the Himba with their Ochais.
Right. That's a cultural adaptation to the specific environment they settled in. Then layer on top of that the colonial-era German rule, then South African rule.
Which led to?
Well, it led to conflict and displacement, but also to admixture between Africans and Europeans, giving rise to the colored communities with their unique blend of features.
And despite all that upheaval, these distinct identities remained visible.
Remarkably so. While there was mixing and displacement, many groups managed to maintain their distinct cultural practices and identities, which are strongly reflected in their appearance even today. Genetic studies back this up. You see the ancient sand lineages, the more recent Bantu markers, and the European traces all present in Namibia's population.
It's an incredible story. But how does this visible difference play out today? You mentioned pride, but does it cause friction too, given the history?
That's a really important and sensitive question. The sources definitely touch on this complexity. On one hand, yes, there's immense cultural pride tied to appearance.
But on the other,
On the other hand, these differences are intertwined with debates about identity and history. There's sometimes discussion about, who are the true Namibians? Is it the San with their ancient roots? Or the Ovambo, who are the largest group today, politically dominant?
historical power dynamics playing out.
Exactly. And you absolutely cannot forget the legacy of apartheid under South African rule. The system explicitly used physical appearance, skin color, hair texture, to classify people and create hierarchies. Lighter-skinned coloreds were often given privileges denied to darker-skinned Africans.
Those divisions don't just vanish overnight.
No, they don't. So even today, debates about what it means to look Namibian can sometimes echo those historical tensions, and it reinforces why understanding the actual history, like the San's ancient features versus mistaken links to Asia, is so important.
It makes those visual markers incredibly powerful, holding both pride and potential pain.
It's a very delicate balance,
Yeah.
but let's try and bring it back to the present-day experience. Imagine those snapshots again. A Himba village, Kune region. Women with that glowing red skin, intricate hair around a fire, deep sense of tradition. Then the Kalahari. Sand hunters, light bronze, fine features moving through the landscape they know so intimately. Ancient skills.
Right.
Back in Windhoek. Hero women, tall, proud in those vibrant dresses. A statement of identity.
Yeah.
And down by the coast, Swakopmund. Colored families enjoying the breeze, their faces showing that rich mix of histories. One country, so many stories visible.
It really drives home how appearance isn't just biological chance there. It's woven into the fabric of identity, of culture.
Absolutely. For Himba women, the hours spent on hair and ochais are a form of art central to who they are. For Sam communities, their features are celebrated as a living link to humanity's origins. For Herero women, their stature and dress are powerful symbols.
But acknowledging the shadow side, too.
We have to. That apartheid-era classification based on looks caused real harm. And while Namibian independence in 1990 brought a focus on national unity, one Namibia, one nation, those memories persist.
So it's an ongoing process, finding that balance.
It seems so. But encouragingly, surveys mentioned in the sources suggest that a large majority of Namibians today, something like over 70%, actually see their country's diversity as a major strength.
That's positive. So the big takeaway here, what's the bottom line from the research?
The bottom line is that Namibia represents one of the most ancient and diverse human landscapes on the planet. The history isn't just buried, it's right there, visible.
So that's why Namibians look so different.
That's why it's this incredible convergence. Ancient populations, major migrations, specific environmental adaptations, unique cultural practices, colonial encounters, millennia of human variation packed into one nation.
From the San, echoing our earliest ancestors, to tall Bantu pastoralists, the Himba with their ochre, the colored communities reflecting historical mixing.
It's a living testament to the sheer breadth and depth of the human story.
Well, we've certainly taken a deep dive into Namibia's visual diversity today, exploring the traits, the history, the genetics, the culture. It's genuinely one of the most visually fascinating places.
It truly is. And perhaps here's a final thought for you, for our listeners, to chew on. Given this incredible visual tapestry, should Namibia's distinct appearance be celebrated primarily as this unique living time capsule, a precious link to our shared human past?
Or does focusing so much on physical differences, even in celebration, carry a risk? A risk of inadvertently echoing those past divisions that were based precisely on how people looked.
Something to ponder. How do you celebrate diversity without reinforcing difference?